But the real humiliation wasn't just losing my title. It was how they rewrote the story of Novatech without me. Within days of pushing me out, Logan and Vanessa launched a brutal PR campaign. Articles started appearing everywhere. Novatech's bold new era, they called it. Vanessa gave interviews as if she had been the mastermind all along. "I always knew we could push boundaries," she said on a tech podcast. "It's exciting to finally lead the company into its true potential." Not a single mention of me. Not a word about the sleepless nights I spent coding the first version of our software or the deals I brokered that saved the company during its leanest months. According to them, I never existed. That hurt more than I cared to admit. My phone stopped ringing. Invitations vanished. Industry friends didn't know where to stand, so they chose the safe route: silence. I became invisible overnight. I spent weeks in my tiny apartment, curtains drawn, replaying every moment in my mind. The boardroom ambush, Logan's cold expression, Vanessa's smug smile. The betrayal cut deeper than any wound ever had. For days, I barely ate. My confidence shattered. How could they turn on me so easily? Was I really that replaceable? Self-doubt consumed me. But beneath the heartbreak, something darker began to simmer. Anger. Not the loud, fiery rage I expected. This was quieter, colder. It whispered in the back of my mind as I scrolled through endless posts of Logan and Vanessa living my dream. They didn't just want me gone. They wanted to erase me. That's when I made my decision. If they wanted me to disappear quietly, they were in for a shock. I spent sleepless nights not wallowing, but planning. Learning everything they assumed. I was too weak to understand. I studied corporate warfare, legal loopholes, and backdoor tactics big companies use to choke out competitors. I reached out discreetly to former employees who hated the new regime. They told me horror stories. Vanessa slashed benefits, cut corners, and created a toxic work culture. Clients were unhappy, deadlines were missed, and morale was at rock bottom. But the press didn't know that, not yet. I started SparkEdge Solutions quietly, working out of a small co-working space. I used every trick I learned to make my company agile, flexible, and laser-focused on client needs. I didn't chase headlines. I chased results. Word spread fast. Disgruntled Novatech clients started calling me. My phone, which had been silent for weeks, buzzed constantly. One by one, I poached their biggest contracts. Every account I won wasn't just revenue, it was revenge. The best part? Logan and Vanessa were too arrogant to notice. They were busy filming promo videos and bragging about stock growth. Meanwhile, my quiet rebellion grew stronger by the day. I knew this wasn't enough yet. No, this was just the foundation. To truly make them pay, I had to destroy what they loved most, their illusion of success. Every move I made was calculated. Every client I signed was a dagger aimed right at Novatech's heart. By the end of the first year, SparkEdge became the industry's rising star. Analysts whispered about our disruptive model. Tech blogs speculated about my comeback. Investors who had ignored me started paying attention again. And Novatech? They were losing deals so fast even Logan couldn't spin it anymore. Their stocks dipped. Vanessa blamed market trends. Logan blamed team alignment issues. Neither realized the truth. I was the shadow they ignored. The storm they pretended didn't exist. And soon, I'd make sure they felt every bit of what they did to me. This wasn't just about winning anymore. It was about showing them and the world who built Novatech. Not them. Me. And I was just getting started. Building SparkEdge wasn't glamorous at first. It was lonely, quiet, and brutal. I worked from a tiny glass box of an office in downtown San Diego, tucked between a yoga studio and a dentist's office. My furniture was secondhand. I brewed my own terrible coffee every morning. There were no assistants, no lavish boardrooms, no catered lunches. It was just me and my mission. And yet, I had never felt more alive. Every email from a former Novatech client asking for help felt like a small victory. Every disgruntled ex-employee eager to join me gave me fuel. They didn't see themselves as rebels, but I knew. Together, we were building an army. Slowly, methodically, I crafted SparkEdge into everything Novatech had forgotten to be. Where Vanessa and Logan focused on image and ego, I focused on service and trust. I personally spoke to every client. I made sure every team member knew they were valued. My small company felt like family, not the toxic, fake kind Logan had fostered, but real, loyal, and resilient. Word spread faster than I expected. Within months, SparkEdge started pulling in contracts that once seemed out of reach. Former Novatech clients whispered to each other at conferences, "Haley's back, and she's better than ever." I stayed under the radar. No press releases, no interviews. I didn't need the spotlight. That belonged to Logan and Vanessa. They still played the role of tech royalty, posing for magazines and giving TED Talks about innovation. They didn't realize they were losing the war one deal at a time. But I knew. Every contract I stole chipped away at their empire. Investors noticed. Whispers began circling about missed quarterly targets and rising turnover rates at Novatech. Vanessa responded the only way she knew how, by doubling down. She slashed prices to unsustainable levels. She offered ridiculous bonuses to keep staff from leaving. She even started copying SparkEdge's client-first approach, though it came off hollow and forced. Meanwhile, Logan grew restless. I heard from mutual contacts that he was snapping at board meetings, blaming everyone but himself. Their perfect facade was cracking. Still, I wasn't satisfied. I wanted more. Taking clients wasn't enough. I wanted them exposed. I wanted the world to see the rot beneath Novatech's glossy surface. That's when I made my move. Quietly, I hired a small but ruthless PR team, experts in corporate crises and scandal exposure. Their mission was simple: gather every horror story from Novatech's past year and feed it to the right people. Former employees lined up to talk. Stories of Vanessa's verbal abuse, unpaid bonuses, and toxic work culture flooded in. I had receipts, emails, recordings, text messages, all of it. My team compiled the dirt into anonymous leaks and passed them to journalists who hated corporate bullies. The storm hit fast. Headlines like "Inside Novatech's Toxic Culture" and "Ex-Employees Speak Out, Betrayal and Chaos Behind the Scenes" dominated tech news for weeks. Vanessa tried to do damage control, but the narrative was unstoppable. Logan stayed suspiciously silent, letting his sister take the heat. Investors panicked. Stock prices plummeted. Employees jumped ship, many straight into SparkEdge's welcoming arms. I watched it all unfold from my modest office, calm and steady. But I wasn't done yet. Next, I targeted Novatech's core partners, vendors, distributors, marketing firms. I reached out to each one personally, offering better terms and a promise. SparkEdge treats its partners like family. No lies, no abuse. They switched. Every single one. Novatech found itself isolated. Even loyal clients hesitated to renew contracts, unsure if the company would survive the storm. I could have stopped there. I had already won in many ways, but they hadn't begged yet. They hadn't felt what I felt when they erased me, so I pushed further. I acquired a struggling tech firm that owned patents critical to Novatech's new product line. Overnight, Novatech's upcoming launch stalled. Panic ensued. Vanessa went into hiding. Logan, desperate and humiliated, finally broke his silence in a teary shareholder call. He begged for patience, blamed unforeseen challenges, and promised to fix everything. But it was too late. Investors revolted. The board, terrified of total collapse, forced Logan and Vanessa to resign. Their reign was over. I remember sitting alone in my office that night, staring at my laptop screen as the headlines flashed. Novatech founders forced out amid scandal and losses. I expected to feel triumphant, but instead I felt empty. Not because I regretted it. They deserved every ounce of ruin. But because I realized this wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about reclaiming what was mine. They stole my life. My company, my future. I had spent years as a ghost haunting them. Now they were the ones left wandering in the dark. And me? I was just getting started. SparkEdge wasn't just a rival anymore. It was the new leader. I had torn Novatech down to its foundation. Next, I would build something no one could ever take away again. For the first time in years, I slept soundly, because now they knew what I always did. I wasn't the weak, naive girl they thought they destroyed. I was the storm, and my fury had only just begun. By the time Novatech fell, most people assumed my story was over. I won, right? Logan and Vanessa were gone. Their empire shattered. I should have been satisfied. But winning wasn't enough. Not for me. What they did wasn't just business. It was personal. They humiliated me. They erased me. They made me question my worth. I couldn't just beat them. I needed to make sure no one ever doubted me again. That meant rising higher. Much higher. So while Novatech burned, I quietly fueled SparkEdge's meteoric climb. The tech industry loves a redemption story, and I became its poster child. Headlines. Shifted quickly from scandal to admiration. Haley Morgan, from betrayed co-founder to industry titan. The woman who outplayed her enemies and built a better empire. The narrative wasn't manufactured. It was earned. Clients I had won back praised our personalized approach. Former Novatech employees, once miserable, now thrived in SparkEdge's supportive environment. Investors who once ghosted me lined up with offers. I accepted only the ones who aligned with my vision. I wasn't building just another company. I was creating a legacy. Our growth was explosive. We expanded from San Diego to Los Angeles, then Seattle and New York. Within 18 months, SparkEdge became synonymous with agile solutions and ethical leadership. Unlike Novatech, we didn't hide skeletons. Transparency became our weapon. Every team meeting was open. Every decision made with integrity. Internally, I fostered a culture of respect and ambition. People worked hard because they wanted to, not because they feared being replaced. Our reputation skyrocketed. Soon, we weren't just taking Novatech's former clients. We were eating into territories dominated by massive established corporations. That's when the offers started. Bigger companies, ones that once ignored me, now wanted partnerships, joint ventures, some even floated acquisition proposals. I rejected most. I didn't fight this hard just to sell out. Still, I chose one carefully. A global tech leader, Vertex Dynamics, wanted to merge resources for a joint product launch. It was risky, but it would put SparkEdge on a global stage. I said yes, but on my terms. I kept controlling interest. They needed me more than I needed them, and they knew it. The partnership was announced in a lavish press event at a rooftop garden in Manhattan. Cameras flashed as I took the stage, confident and composed. "This is not the story of a comeback," I told the crowd. "This is the story of what happens when you underestimate the wrong person." The quote went viral within hours. Across social media, people, especially young women in tech, shared my words like gospel. I became more than a CEO. I became a movement. Behind the scenes, something poetic happened. Novatech, now under new management after Logan and Vanessa's disgraceful exit, struggled to survive. Their brand, tainted and hollow, became a cautionary tale in business schools. They tried rebranding, restructuring, even courting me to buy them out quietly to save face. I refused. I didn't need Novatech's name or legacy. I had built something far superior. Watching them scramble wasn't even satisfying anymore. They weren't my rivals. They were relics. Meanwhile, Logan and Vanessa had all but vanished from public life. Vanessa faced lawsuits from former employees and investors. Logan's lavish lifestyle crumbled. Rumors swirled that he was living in a rental home, far from the penthouse he once flaunted on social media. Friends distanced themselves. The tech world forgot them, exactly how I wanted it. Still, I stayed focused on the future. My days were filled with strategic meetings, expansion plans, and mentorship programs I personally led to empower young entrepreneurs. But late at night, when the office was quiet and I sat alone reviewing numbers, the ghosts of betrayal still whispered. Not with pain, with purpose. They reminded me why I could never let my guard down. Success attracts predators, and I had no intention of being prey ever again. I made moves no one saw coming. I quietly invested in emerging markets. I poached top talent from competitors. I built relationships with politicians and tech regulators, not out of fear, but because control mattered. If Novatech taught me anything, it was that power isn't just about winning. It's about staying untouchable. SparkEdge became exactly that, untouchable. By year 3, we weren't just an industry leader, we were the gold standard. Companies copied our models. Competitors tried to mimic our culture. None succeeded. Why? Because they didn't have me, Haley Morgan, the girl they once dismissed as too soft, too naive, too emotional. I was now the architect of a global empire. One evening, while reviewing our next expansion strategy from my penthouse in Seattle, I caught my reflection in the glass. I looked different, sharper, stronger, unbreakable. I smiled faintly. They thought they erased me, I whispered. Instead, they made me inevitable. The city lights flickered behind me. Somewhere out there, Logan and Vanessa existed in their tiny, forgotten worlds. They had each other. They had their regrets. And I had everything else. But deep down, I knew this wasn't the end. Power invites challengers. Shadows always gather. And when they did, they would find out what Logan and Vanessa already knew. You can stab me in the back. You can leave me bleeding. But I will rise. And when I do, I don't just win. I dominate. I thought I had seen the worst of Logan and Vanessa. But people like them, they don't know when to stop. Even after being pushed out of Novatech, even after watching me build SparkEdge into a global force, they couldn't let go. I heard whispers. First, industry friends mentioned Logan making calls, trying to revive his image. Vanessa had started attending networking events again, playing the victim. We were betrayed by those we trusted, she claimed in hushed circles. Betrayed. That word echoed in my mind, sour and laughable. They weren't content with losing. They needed to rewrite the narrative. According to them, I wasn't the brilliant founder who resurrected herself. I was the backstabber who stole Novatech through dirty tactics. It was pathetic, but dangerous. Lies, no matter how weak, can spread. And if there was one thing Logan and Vanessa excelled at, it was manipulation. They couldn't beat me in business, so they tried another route. Character assassination. Anonymous articles started popping up online. Baseless claims about SparkEdge's ethics, questioning my leadership, hinting at insider trading, total fabrications. At first, I ignored them. They were desperate, clinging to relevance. But when a few industry forums began speculating, I knew I had to act. I didn't panic. Panic is for amateurs. Instead, I prepared for war. I called an emergency meeting with my executive team. They want to drag us down to their level, I said calmly. We won't allow it, but we won't play defense either. We'll end them, permanently. First, I launched an internal audit. Full transparency. We published our findings publicly, proving SparkEdge was clean and thriving. Clients and investors rallied behind me instantly. They had no doubts. They trusted me. But that wasn't enough. I wanted Logan and Vanessa not just silenced, I wanted them erased. So I dug deeper. Using private investigators and cybersecurity experts, I traced the smear campaign right back to them. Vanessa had hired a shady PR firm that specialized in covert attacks. Logan's personal email linked directly to drafts of the fake stories. I had them, and I wasn't about to keep it private. With my legal team leading the charge, I filed a lawsuit so public, so explosive, that it became headline news overnight. SparkEdge CEO Haley Morgan sues former Novatech founders for defamation and fraud. Reporters swarmed Logan and Vanessa's homes. News outlets dissected every past scandal they had been involved in. Their dirty laundry was no longer hidden. It was broadcasted. Vanessa tried to spin the narrative. She held a shaky press conference, blaming miscommunication and claiming innocence. But no one believed her. Not anymore. Logan? He went silent. The man who once lit up stages with his charm now hid behind closed doors, his reputation in ruins. But I wasn't done. During the lawsuit's discovery phase, my team uncovered even more skeletons. Financial fraud during their Novatech tenure, misappropriation of funds, and illegal insider dealings. I handed everything over to federal authorities. The lawsuit became a criminal investigation. I watched from my penthouse as federal agents raided Logan's overpriced villa. Vanessa was photographed leaving her home in tears, her designer bag clutched tightly as if it could save her. They were finished, truly finished. Within months, they were indicted. The tech world, once eager to attend their parties, now shunned them. Former allies deleted photos, distanced themselves, and whispered about how they always knew something was wrong. Lies unravel fast when no one is left to defend you. Logan faced years in prison. Vanessa settled quietly, agreeing to a lifetime industry ban and massive fines that bankrupted her. As their worlds collapsed, mine soared. SparkEdge reached new heights. Our global market share doubled. I was named Tech Person of the Year by every major publication. But the real victory came quietly. One night, as I wrapped up a late meeting, my assistant knocked softly. "You have a visitor," she said hesitantly. It was Logan. Pale, thinner, broken. He asked for 5 minutes. I allowed it, not out of kindness, but because I wanted to see it. I wanted to see the end. He couldn't even look me in the eyes. "Haley," he whispered, voice cracking. "We lost everything. Vanessa, she's ruined. I didn't know it would go this far." I said nothing, just stared. "Can you help us?" he asked desperately. "Talk to the press. Clear our names a little. Please." The audacity stunned me. Even now, in his ruin, he expected me to save him. I stood slowly, walking around my desk until I faced him directly. "You didn't know it would go this far?" I repeated quietly. "Neither did I when you stabbed me in the back, when you erased me, when you celebrated while I disappeared." He swallowed hard, shame flooding his eyes. "Please," he whispered. I leaned in, my voice ice cold. "I didn't bury you, Logan. You did that yourself. And no, I won't help you. I want the world to remember exactly who you are." Without another word, I signaled to my assistant. Logan was escorted out. That was the last time I saw him. Months later, news broke that he declared bankruptcy. Vanessa fled to Europe, living under a new name. They were gone. Not just from business, but from relevance. Exactly where they belonged. And me? I wasn't done yet. This wasn't just revenge anymore. This was legacy. And soon, the entire world would know my name and forget theirs forever. Months passed after Logan and Vanessa vanished from the spotlight. For a while, it was surreal. Their names, once synonymous with success and luxury, were now nothing more than cautionary tales whispered in industry circles. Business schools taught case studies on their downfall. Forums joked about their desperate final moves. They had become punchlines, not power players. And me? I became everything they swore I couldn't. SparkEdge didn't just survive, it thrived. Our market dominance was undeniable. We expanded into Europe, Asia, and South America. Clients lined up for our services. Competitors tried to copy our methods but failed. Investors, once hesitant, now begged for a seat at the table. I became the face of innovation, empowerment, and resilience. I graced magazine covers, headlined global tech conferences, and was named one of the most influential women in business for 3 consecutive years. But beyond the accolades and success, something deeper resonated with me. I wasn't chasing validation anymore. I wasn't hungry for revenge. I had already won that battle. This was about legacy now. One evening, after returning from a keynote speech in London, I sat in my penthouse overlooking the Seattle skyline. The city pulsed with life, but I felt calm, almost detached from the chaos below. I poured myself a glass of wine and scrolled through old photos on my tablet. There we were, Logan, Vanessa, and me. Back when Novatech was just an idea scribbled on a napkin in our cramped apartment. Back when I believed in us. Back when betrayal was unthinkable. I stared at my own face, younger and naive, and felt no bitterness. That girl didn't know what the world would throw at her. But she fought. She survived. She became me. My phone buzzed, pulling me from my thoughts. It was an email from the board. They had unanimously voted to make me chairwoman for life. Not just CEO, chairwoman. A title that couldn't be touched, challenged, or taken away. I smiled softly. Power wasn't in titles, though. True power was when you didn't need to explain yourself anymore. Everyone already knew. That night, I drafted a letter, not for the public, but for my future self. I reminded her that betrayal cuts deep, but it also carves out room for growth. That being underestimated is a gift because it lets you strike when they least expect it. And that revenge, real revenge, isn't about destruction. It's about thriving so magnificently that your enemies fade into irrelevance. But fate had one more twist for me. Months later, at a private industry gala in San Francisco, I crossed paths with Chloe Matthews, a rising young CEO. She nervously introduced herself, admitting she followed my story closely. "You inspire people like me," she said softly, "especially women who've been told we're too soft to lead." Her words hit harder than any award ever could. I spent hours mentoring her that night, sharing strategies, encouraging her to own her power unapologetically. Walking away, I realized something profound. I had become the very thing Logan and Vanessa tried so hard to suppress. A force, not fueled by vengeance anymore, but by purpose. Their fall wasn't my greatest victory. This was. Becoming a symbol, a mentor, and a living reminder that no matter how brutal the betrayal, queens rebuild. Queens rise higher. Queens become legends. Before leaving the gala, I stood on the balcony, letting the cool night air wash over me. Somewhere out there, Logan and Vanessa probably still existed. But they didn't matter anymore. They weren't my villains. They were lessons. I raised my glass quietly. "Here's to what's left of them," I whispered. "May they live forever, in my shadow." And with that, I turned back inside, welcomed by admirers, allies, and the empire I built with my own hands. I wasn't chasing revenge anymore. I was already beyond it. I had become the queen they could never destroy. The end? No. This was just my reign beginning.